Governor Wes Moore back in the national spotlight tonight, appearing on a CBS News town hall with Norah O'Donnell. The governor once again on the attack against President Donald Trump, even as Moore himself faces controversy for issues facing our state.
When I think about the legacy of this president and this vice president, honestly, I do not think history is going to remember them very well. And so I just think there are just fundamental disagreements that I have with the president and the vice president, but also the language, the behavior, the ignorance. It's not just beneath the office, it's beneath this country, because I think this country is better than that.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Maxine Stryker. Mackenzie Frost joins us now in studio with a breakdown of all the issues that came up during tonight's town hall, and there were a lot of them, Mackenzie.
Maxine, that's right. There were a lot of issues, from the Epstein files to taking a swipe at the former President Joe Biden to even continuing the push for redistricting here in the state of Maryland. Governor Wes Moore talked a lot about national issues during this town hall, and it was not until the second half hour did Maryland's high energy bills come up. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But first, the governor says he's not running for president in 2028. We should note the town hall itself labeled Moore as a rising star in the Democratic Party, and some people have floated him as a possible 2028 contender. Instead, the governor argues he's focused on seeking a second term here in Maryland. Here's what he had to say when he was directly asked about his 2028 plans.
I'm not running for president.
But you're not saying that you won't ever run.
I don't see a reason. I love my job.
Okay.
And I love what I'm doing.
The governor not ruling out a presidential run altogether, potentially in the future. Governor Moore says the next Democratic leader should be focused on healing the country with a track record of success. Now, when it comes to the previous administration in the White House, Governor Moore was critical of how Joe Biden handled the issue of immigration.
Well, I definitely think that the former president did not have this right. Oh, yes. And we needed to do more. I don't think anyone can argue that we had the system worked out under President Biden. Immigration has been an issue that we as a country have punted on for a very long time.
But remember, the governor went to the White House right after Joe Biden's debate performance had ended up leading to him dropping out of the race. And then once Biden was out, the governor campaigned for Kamala Harris, who was the point person for a bit on immigration during Biden's administration. Maxine?
And Mackenzie, what did Governor Moore have to say about the cost of living in the state and those high energy bills?
He said it's hard for people to get by, and I think a lot of people in the state would potentially agree with that. Maryland is the most expensive state for utilities right now, but critics have argued the policies from Democrats in Annapolis are behind the soaring prices right now following the drop in supply as plants close and go offline. We know Maryland is an energy-dependent state. About 40% of the energy needs are imported from elsewhere. The state has pushed for more green energy projects like solar and wind. Governor Moore brought it up during his State of the State address just last week. The governor touted recent price cap at PJM and what he calls solutions to the energy crisis right now in the state.
We have not done enough to be able to really fortify the grid, to get more energy options. We've provided last year $200 million in rebates to Marylanders to make sure we're putting more money back in their pocket.
Now, those rebates came from a fund that Republicans like Senate Minority Leader Steve Hershey say is funded due to policies passed by Democrats that force ratepayers to ultimately pay more. The $200 million the governor talked about ended up being two $40 rebates for Marylanders. And this year, Governor Moore is calling for $100 million to be pulled from the same fund for another $40 rebate. Again, some of the same money that you already put into that fund. To increase the supply of energy, the governor says Maryland and other states need to work with the federal government to encourage more production. Now, I want to bring in political analyst John Deedy here. John, will it be possible for the governor to work with the federal government, given the criticisms that we hear Governor Moore often point and say about the Trump administration and what we've seen from Governor Moore in the past as he continues to take jabs at the president?
become a little difficult, and as I've repeatedly have said, don't poke the bear. And he finds a way of doing this. I thought tonight when he started with the criticisms of Trump, he laid out a bunch of stuff, but just left it there, kind of, you make up your own mind without saying all this stuff. I thought that tonight he did an A+ job on sound bites. He had a lot of sound bites. You could pick from 7 or 8 different things. I thought specifics, a little bit weak. I mean, energy policy was just kind of a rerun of a bunch of stuff. There wasn't anything specific long term. Same with housing. I mean, the housing answer I just didn't think was very good at all. There was just nothing there.
Now, what do you think this entire town hall was ultimately all about? I mean, the governor says he's not running for president. What was the purpose of doing this town hall on national media once again, which is a familiar place for the governor, in a primetime event like this?
I think it's a couple things. First, CBS is trying to change their internal operations. They're going to have J.D. Vance on in March. I think they're trying to do this for Sunday night type of viewing, and we'll see where that ends up going in general. I think for Moore, this is another opportunity. He said he's not running for president. So did Obama, so did Hillary Clinton, a bunch of other people who ended up becoming president. But it's a good showcase. I thought he did a fairly good job, but I thought the questions were very general in nature. There wasn't very good follow-up questions on specific things. Yeah, it's easy to follow up on immigration because it's a national issue. I thought he did a good job, and there was good follow-ups on the Epstein situation. But on local bare-bone issues that Marylanders care about, I thought the follow-ups were weak.
Not a lot of issues brought up that are specific to the state of Maryland. You and I have talked a lot about that when it comes to his national appearances. We heard him bring up redistricting as well, but I first want to play a clip of the event where the governor talked about leadership.
I believe deeply that leadership means building a table that everyone has a seat. I believe that leadership means actually having integrity and making sure that everyone feels welcomed. And I believe that making this country great means letting everyone know that there's a place for you too.
Is that really what we're seeing from him when it comes to redistricting, given the significant opposition that we continue to hear from the Senate president? Is this a situation where we're seeing actions versus words differ?
Taking a lot of notes during this, and the one quote he made was doing this to fight for democracy. When you're going from 7-1 to 8-0, that's not democratic. That's authoritarian. That's fascism in a lot of ways. And I think that he's trying to have it both ways. You know, he talked from the beginning about this commission. If you're watching on TV outside of Maryland, you think, oh, bipartisan commission. Yeah, there was one Republican. You think that you're doing this for democracy. Inside of Maryland, it's another case as far as a lot of this stuff. And I thought that he got a little prickly as far as with some of the criticisms Nora O'Donnell brushed off, and basically was kind of just brushing them back, just saying, you know, that's not a big deal. About a month ago, when he talked about being able to, the issue of his thesis, I had a little game I did in my house. I found mine in 10 minutes.
That's interesting. I know that we've done some reporting on the issue surrounding where his thesis is. John, last question for you. We're running out of time, but ultimately, was this for an audience of Marylanders or a national audience? And will this, anything that happened tonight, really help people who are struggling in the state?
It was done as kind of like a exhibition game, getting a little practice for national audience. Not going to really change a lot of things. If you don't like Wes Moore, it's not going to change your mind. If you like him, it's not going to change your mind either.
All right, John Deedy, political analyst, your insights always valued. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Maxine Stryker. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, and check out Fox Baltimore on social media to find more stories like this.